Greetings, brothers and sisters. Let's start here. Kobach sues Pfizer over COVID blue vaccine claims. And it's here. Kansas Attorney General, Kansas State Attorney General Chris Kobach has filed a lawsuit against Pfizer. He says the company made misleading and deceptive claims about its COVID-19 bloop and needs to be held accountable. So it's starting to happen, right? And this guy might be, I would say, probably a Republican. Kobach says there's a lot of panic anxiety over the coronavirus, especially as the elderly and people with various medical conditions were dying when bloops were made available. People had quickly decided that we would get boopinated, and which the boop to get. You do not deceive consumers, and especially must not deceive consumers when consumers are making urgent, frantic decisions, believing that their life might be online. So again, this is starting to happen. They have this vaccine court. Here's the Kansas City Reflector, and so it was this guy Chris Kobach. He's probably a Republican, I would assume. Yeah, here he is. He's a Republican, so we'll see how all that goes with the Kansas City people. So my wife had sent me this morning, there was a guy who posted kind of a fake meme about the Surgeon General demands warnings on the CDC website. But what turned out to be was Surgeon General demands warning label on social media apps, which is interesting as well. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy says that the threat social media poses to children requires urgent action. He demanded Congress to put a label on apps as it does with cigarettes and alcohol. The mental health crisis among young people is an emergency, and social media has emerged as an important contributor. And so he is acknowledging that social media is hurting these kids, but a warning label isn't going to do boop. It's not going to stop them at all. Not going to affect them, and but I guess it gives them plausible deniability. At least it's something acknowledging that social media sucks. So this happened. I was going to lead with this because this, I've experienced this here. I'm going to unmute this.
I've been hearing about this, but check out what's happening to these people.
When she opens it and she breaks it in half, it gets very tough and doesn't really break. And when it pulls, it's like it's glue.
Like, it's not even breaking, like, at all. And I know you guys can't feel the texture, Avi, right, because it's a video, but, like, it literally feels fake.
Those of people posting rubbery watermelon. I can't believe I got one. I got a rubbery watermelon. The texture is so weird,
But there's a clanking, and it sounds like something's stuck. So I go in the drain, and there's a blueberry that's not breaking apart. It's not doing anything. It's what's making the noise. And I pick it up, and why is there a rubber blueberry in my toddler's snack? This came from the carton of blueberries. My husband cut it in half. I really don't know if you can see it that well. Glistening, it's silicone. It's a silicone blueberry. It is a solid rubber blueberry. She is under 2. I got this at Whole Foods also. Organic. I was trying to, do the right thing.
My wife and I both have experienced this with an avocado that we may or may not have gotten from Whole Foods, but it was organic avocado, whatever it was. And so I cut an avocado that seemed like it was going bad, and it had a weird texture. If I get another one, I'll do a video on it. But, they're putting out some sort of synthetic foods here. And it was like, this is not, there was something wrong with it, right? And so, yeah, that's happening. John Federman and wife injured in car crash, hospitalized after Federman slams into a Chevy Impala. And so it says here, John Federman at fault in recent car accident, police say. Both cars were towed, and Federman and his wife and the motorist he hit were all taken to the hospital for minor injuries. And so how is this MNFer driving? How is this MNFer disabled, brain not functioning driver driving a car? So first let's start here with this ghoulish looking creature.
So John Federman is the colorful, straight-talking senator from the great state of Pennsylvania, and he's proving that he can overcome any challenge thrown his way. Please welcome Senator John Federman.
How are they giving him a standing ovation? How are they giving him a standing frickin' Look at these guys. How are these three dudes coming together on The View?
Welcome to the show, Senator.
You're even taller in person.
Yeah. We always talk to you on video, on streaming, whatever you call it.
Well, actually, I wear lifts.
Boy, he's funny. Like the kaboom.
I know.
Yeah, DeSantis called. He wants his lifts back.
Boom. Look at the funny. She's the funny one.
That's not sad. Okay, that's perfectly normal to wear lifts, and everything.
Yeah, right. Well, you know what? We're going to get to politics in the second segment, but I really want to ask you about the last time you were here. You were still in the early months of recovering a near-fatal stroke you suffered in May of 2022. So bring us up to date. How are you feeling? You look pretty good.
Yeah, well, I had incredible kind of support from my wife, Giselle, who's right there.
Oh, she's a witch.
Thank you, thank you.
You're gonna giggle. Giggle, Giselle.
And everyone was really amazing and supportive. And I know you guys here were also very supportive too, so thank you. It really means a lot to know that.
It's nothing better than getting supported by The View ladies.
And now kind of fast forward that, I've gotten, much better and better. And Fox News is devastated to know that.
Senator, we want to point out that
Fox News loves you, bro. Everybody who's an anti-Democrat loves you because of your incompetence. Anybody who's anti-politics.
you have in front of you today is you're using a closed captioning to assist you with lingering hearing and processing issues. You're one of more than 40 million Americans living with a disability, and you've faced...
So let's make you in charge of making decisions that affect everybody's lives. And let's let you drive a car, right? This guy, when people are talking to him, he says it sounds like the, what it sound like for adults talking to kids on the Charlie Brown wah, 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 wah show. He can't understand people when they're talking to him. And he can't speak either. And he can't, understand what's going on around him. So he's got all these devices helping him function in a job where, you have to be, it's supposed to be a high-level job, right?
Terrible.
Absolutely.
Insults, offenses, comments, just reprehensible stuff from some people.
Yeah,
from on Fox News. What
Reprehensible.
has that taught you? How has it changed you?
Well, it's taught me, one, how important that it is to have the kind of technology, if you have a disability, to be able to allow you to participate fully. And I just
participate fully by doing something where a disabled person can function competently, not be a senator, and not drive a car. How's this guy driving a car, right? You have processing issues. Driving's about processing what's around you. And it's always changing, right? And we take it for granted because... you're not aware of what you're doing. Driving's easy, but then you're drunk, like a drunk driver, or you're on drugs, and the world doesn't make sense, and things are coming at your cars, and you have to make decisions, and you have a distorted view of reality, because you have it's like driving drunk. This is what he's essentially driving drunk, because he can't understand what's going on around him. There's no way he should be driving.
I want to give the example. This is actually on my phone. It's the same thing that allows this, and I want people to see and understand there is too, is that, these are like your eyes, and of course I'm able to process things, but...
They're like your eyes, or your eyes looking at it?
And this allows me to participate in interviews. It allows me to participate in all kinds of conversations with my children, everyone. And I want to make sure that...
You need a phone to interpret for you what your kids are saying to you, so that, like, you you shouldn't be driving, and you shouldn't be, this is what I say about Biden. Would you trust Biden to drive your school bus, right, when people are breaking down mentally? This is something you can't do, right? Driving a car is like a weapon.
That everybody where they had a stroke or for whatever reasons has the kind of technology that they need to allow them to fully participate in our society.
Senator, less than 6 weeks
So, this is...
after you were sworn in, you checked yourself into an inpatient treatment for clinical depression, and you stayed
let's have them,
there for a month and a half. I have to commend you right away as someone who's experienced depression. Oftentimes
It's nothing better than checking yourself into a mental hospital to heal.
step is asking for help. So what made you realize that you needed help?
I knew I was in help.
He knew he wasn't help. He knew he wasn't help. That's one thing he knows, that he wasn't help.
It's incredibly difficult, and ironically, it got much worse after I won the election, and I was confusing people. My children, they understood. They were like, "Dad, you won. What's wrong? Aren't we enough?" And I knew I was harming
no kids, you're not.
them, and I couldn't get out of bed. And in fact, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, and
he loves Thanksgiving. It's his favorite. He likes the turkeys.
Get out of my bed, and I wouldn't have really understood what it really means. No, you literally can't get out of bed before to actually be not able to get out of bed.
Exactly. You don't understand what it's like not to be able to get out of bed until you can't get out of bed. Because before you're like, I don't even know what it's like not to be able to get out of bed. But then I couldn't get out of bed. And I'm like, hey, this is what it's like.
And I was in help, and
he was in help.
It got worse and worse. And then I realized that I have to get help. And that's the message that I have for anybody, that it's like, if you are suffering from depression, please, please get help.
Get help. That's his message.
Do you know what triggered it?
It wasn't just one specific thing that triggered it. It was really like a step down, step down, step down, step down kind of a thing. One of the things that was a part of it is kind of like the volume and just how much hate there was online about that. I made the mistake of just kind of like, no, I wish I didn't have done that. And
he wish he didn't have done that. He wish he didn't have done that. So Federman was on CNN and he said this.
Some progressives have criticized you for being a different senator than you suggested you would be when you were a candidate for Senate.
It's mostly over Israel.
What do you say to that?
Well, I wasn't. I was very clear for saying that for years I'm not a progressive, and I just identified myself as just a regular Democrat.
Just a regular Democrat, not a progressive. Just a regular old Democrat.
So it really wasn't any new news. Now, 8 years ago, I was a progressive, but the situation's changed, and I've been very clear that I didn't leave that label. That label leaved me.
Leave me. That label leave me, and then brokenhearted. The progressive label. I was here to be a progressive, but the label leave me. So that's Fetterman. So back to bonus holes. Not sure if this is.
Here we go. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Yes! Boom! Robin!
Oh my God, who ate the pizza? No way!
Okay, so the laughing is annoying, whatever that is. But the bonus holes are there. Look at them all running. They're running, like You can knock one of those MNFers out. Like it just takes one, and then they'll all leave you alone. But they're coming for you. This is the best guy. We know. This is the greatest seagull ever. Well, this is the second one. They're just going into stores and taking stuff. They got them. They've I haven't seen these. Seagulls are just walking into stores and restaurants and taking stuff. There's this one that, he got a sandwich and some woman tried to chase him. Taking whole slices of pizza, eating chips. They're just thugging it, right? They're coming for your stuff. Got half a burger there, quarter of a burger. Boom, just suck it all down. Going after people's French fries when they're inside their car. Look at them go. Look at this. She caught him. This is someone fighting back. She's got it. She got the guy. There you go. So, bonus holes. Man 32 becomes fully paralyzed within days of catching COVID due to rare syndrome. There was something else that some guy was claiming that he was vax injured, and he was in front of the Ohio State Senate. It's not a very clear video. One of my viewers sent it to me, but he's crying and he's messed up. He's like worse. He's like a Federman. He's been Fetterman. So that's something. This is happening left and right. Things are falling apart. That's what's happening. Ellen DeGeneres is starting a comeback, staging a comeback. She wants to entertain. She just can't sit at home. Well, that's what kind of everybody wants. Dubbed herself the most hated person in America. But she's back. She's, going out there and trying to entertain people because she's Ellen. So this happened as well. Let's turn this thing on here.
Ooh. Get the dogs out. Get the dogs away. Get the dog back. Get back, Charlotte. Charlotte. Get back.
So this is a swordfish, sawfish, which are very rare. I don't know how many people have even seen them, and they're starting to show up on the beaches. And I think they're related to sharks. They're big fish. And this happened as well here.
In a hit and run, I lost consciousness. I believe I flatlined. I had the DNR in place on my chest for the reason that I did not want to be brought back to life if anything was to happen to me.
Tattooed on your chest.
Yes, which means do not resuscitate. He resuscitated me without my consent.
I am a first responder EMT, and my job is to save lives, save people. I didn't make anything of the tattoo. For that, all I know, the tattoo could have been something for a gang.
And it just says DNR.
Yes, in capital letters.
Capital letters, DNR. That still does not grant the authority of this gentleman reneging on his responsibility as an EMT.
Who gives him the right to bring me back from that? I was perfectly fine crossing over, but instead he brought me back, and now I have a $40,000 medical bill. He brought me back to a life where it's a lot more difficult.
Brought him back to a life that's a lot more difficult. Now you have to tattoo "Do not resuscitate." Don't just do DNR. So I just want to add this. This is, I'm in the editing process. Now, it's clear that the EMT had to save the guy, right? And it looks like he's probably scamming, but maybe he really didn't want to be brought back to life. I mean, he did tattoo it on his chest, so there's that. But think about this. The guy was involved in hit and run, died, and they brought him back to life, and that cost him $40,000, right? That he now, is saddled with that medical debt. And the system just did that automatically without ever asking his permission. Think about somebody coming in and fixing up your house, adding an addition to your house, or fixing up your house or your car, or doing any kind of other service where they charge you $40,000 without you signing off on it. When you, they want your signature that you authorized the repairs at the, at a garage, a gas station, whatever it is, repair shop. Because, you're supposed to get the person's permission, but the medical community can bring you to the hospital. You can be unconscious and stick you in an expensive room and do whatever medical procedures to save your life. And then you wake up and you're $100,000 in debt, right? And, if you don't have insurance or whatever it is. And so, it's kind of effed up. The medical community operates on a level of thuggery, a level of where they get automatic money and nobody can sue them. Like there's a whole vaccine court thing where you can't sue companies that make vaccines directly. I mean, it's a whole thing there, right? Where medical community gets away with doing things that nobody else does. Hiram Kashtan, Seinfeld and Saved by the Bell actor and comedian, dead at 71. He was on a couple of sitcoms, and he died of prostate cancer, Crohn's disease, turbo cancer. He was a Batvian from Batvia. One of my viewers said this, Dre Dizzle, my health is slowly declining, and I have no answers for 4 years. My post-COVID vaccine story. This guy is falling apart, and it is because of he's saying it's because of the boop. So this is Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson, who I've talked about. The NBA Finals was kind of a letdown, not very competitive, and there was some element of it seemed like they were rigging it to some extent and whatever. But the announcing was the big story, because they had the same announcer, but they had two different color commentators. Doris Burke, who was like watching a basketball game with your mom telling you what's happening, or your grandmother. And it's just really bad. And she says really unentertaining things. And J.J. Redick, who's actually copying Doris Burke. J.J. Redick has a good podcast, but he sucks as an announcer. And it's such a fall off from these guys. And this was the kind of stuff here.
Watch you guys, and everybody loved what you guys had, which is such a special thing.
Not everybody.
That was what it's like. These guys were funny, and there was funny things that happened. It was entertaining. And the drop off, because they want to promote women and just women in terms of adding more and more women to the whole sports thing. And some of them are former athletes, and it makes sense, but this is just like one of the last refuges of men here.
I got fired on June 30th. Then my sister-in-law tragically passed away in the middle of August as well. And my best friend in Houston contracted cancer and subsequently died this spring.
So, the guy had all these tragedies, which is what a lot of people are having, right? Turbo cancer and these things. But then his brother, this guy was fired by ESPN as well, the guy who's the announcer here. So he asked Stan Van Gundy about his brother Jeff's firing, and he says this.
Leaves ESPN. Do you have anything to give him solace?
Well, I don't know that I could give him solace, and he was hurt by it. I mean, he'd worked for them for 17 years, and it wasn't even just the fact that they made the move. I mean, they shit on him. I mean, the timing was awful. They waited until basically the NBA market in terms of coaching jobs, assistants jobs, front office jobs was already gone by to make the move. And then they, delayed on a buyout that would free him to work for people. I mean, after 17 years of being in arguably, I don't even know if it's arguably, the best, game broadcast booth in the business in basketball, and being the kind of person he is, ESPN shit on him. And
so ESPN Disney, which, they had their own problem with the, firing people because they wouldn't get the boop, and going after Kyrie Irving and all these other people. Disney being evil and ESPN, all these things. Jeff Van Gundy worked for them for 17 years. And, he's now working as a coach a year later. He's the head assistant for, I don't know what team it is. Just came out yesterday. But now he's back in coaching. But he was doing this job, and, Mark Jackson, and they were the best. They were considered the best, right? They were the most entertaining. They added the most in terms of entertainment value. Again, they were the best analysts. And ESPN waited till all the coaching jobs were filled and then didn't give him a speedy buyout so he could get jobs. And he was going through personal tragedies, and like so many people are because of the the bloop and whatever else is going on. So now he's the assistant coach for the Clippers, which is a good job, and he's the head assistant coach. And so the guy, he could have got a job last year, but they screwed him, right? And so, I mean, it's just the way they handled it on top of everything else, seems to be punitive and like hostile when, most people thought he was doing a great job, enjoyed his and Mark Jackson's commentary. So I was getting a migraine last night while I was sleeping, woke up. It was kind of there a little bit, and I've tried this, and I think it helped. I don't have a migraine today, so, but this was what it said.
If you get a migraine and you want to get rid of it fast, because I suffer from migraines, I've suffered from them forever, all you got to do is get as hot as water as you can handle and soak your feet in the water.
If you suffer from migraine headaches, here's a hack to try, which has 0 side effects and may help. Soaking your feet in hot water. But why exactly does this help? This will dilate the blood vessels in your feet, pulling blood away from your head, which will ease the pressure on the blood vessels causing your migraine, which will in turn decrease your pain. Let me know in the comments if you tried this hack and if it helps.
Just learned.
So, the pressure from the blood vessels, there could be side effects. You could burn your feet, right? If you put the water's too hot, right? Like it's, how hot do you need it? But, heating up your feet will draw blood to your feet. Expands your blood vessels in your feet, and that, moves the blood all the way down from your brain, which is, swelling because of the migraine. My migraines are, I think, nerve related, but I tried this and I think it was helpful. So it's interesting. The person sent it to me on Instagram this morning, and I was, just kind of struggling. I drank a lot of water, and, I feel pretty much like it's not like it's complete. I don't have any pain. I feel a little bit off. So, so I'm not, I don't recommend things here, but, this seemed to work a little bit for me, at least, I think it worked. No, make sure it isn't too hot. Avoid potential burns. It's very hard to see how hot you can, make the water. The water comes out of our tap, and whatever, it's too hot. Like it's, for us, like water. If I put water in the tub, for example, like I don't need to heat water up because our water comes up hot enough where it's, I don't know what that temperature is, but it's, I have to add cold water. And again, I don't recommend things. I'm not a medical person, but I also have been doing the cold baths now for well over a year, where I go in, we have well water. And so our water's somewhere in the 50s or so, depending on the time of the year. And I take cold water baths. I always like putting my head under cold water, especially in the summer when I get hot, like my head just overheats. And I've always enjoyed like taking a hose and running cold water over my head, like when I'm working outside. But I found when I take a cold water bath, when I have a migraine, it helps with the pain in my head and the inflammation. And, there's a nerve that I think gets affected, like in the back of my skull, back of my head. But, I get nauseous and things like this also, so that, may or may not help with that. But the cold water, of course, reduces swelling and these things. So I feel like maybe both these things, can definitely have a positive effect for me moving forward. They're not going to get rid of it completely. But today it's 11:30, and I'm a little bit nauseous, and I feel a little bit sort of migraine-y, but I don't have any pain in my head. So it's like a minimal migraine, which is, a win. But anyways, somebody else sent me this morning.
Nikki, how old are you and how many units of Botox do you have?
Do I really have to answer how old
Yes.
I am? 41. 32 units.
She looks 41. But they look fake. Like there's something plastic, right? So, but they're getting poison. This is a toxin. It's killing nerves in their faces, right? And other parts of their...
Emma, how old are you?
22.
You're 22. You're 20 frickin' 2 and you're taking Botox?
How many units of Botox do you have?
32.
32 units of Botox at 22 years old. They must work there at this clinic, right? So, part of their pay is they get Botox at a discount.
Jody, how old are you?
55.
And how many units of Botox do you have?
64.
Lauren.
64 units. Now, it gets rid of wrinkles, and it's not as bad as plastic surgery, but it's something that's not right. And their faces don't work right because their nerves don't work. And, it's a toxin. It's a neurotoxin.
Lauren, how old are you?
24.
And how many units
24?
of Botox do you have?
I have 104. I have 40 in my masseters and 64 in my face.
134? Why 24 years old? Like what?
Jess, how old are you?
I'm 34.
And how many units of Botox do you have?
I have 34 units.
Dr. Cruz, how old are you?
I'm 44.
And how many units of Botox do you have?
76.
It looks like they're plastic, right?
Kyla, how old are you?
34.
And how many units of Botox do you have?
I have 28 in my face, and I have 25 in each of my trapezius muscles to help with migraines.
So it's
Devaney, how?
It's hurting. There's a quality forehead. I've been pointing out foreheads lately. Go back to how old she is, but it's you see it. It's a specific look, right? And so yeah, there are no wrinkles. Like it gets rid of wrinkles, but it doesn't solve the problem of aging.
Devaney, how old are you?
23.
And how many units of Botox do you have?
60.
60, 23 years old. So you got 60 shots.
Kristen, how old are you?
I'm 41.
And how many units of Botox do you have?
I have 56.
Robin, how old are you?
55.
And how many units of Botox do you have?
50 units.
Courtney, how old are you?
33.
And how many units of Botox do you have?
128.
Where do you have that?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. She's not a real person. So women are injecting poison into their face so they don't look like they're getting older, which they are, right? And again, not as bad as a plastic surgery. Like plastic surgery, you really, and these women might also they work in a place that's maybe does plastic surgery as well, right? But, there's just a fakeness to it. Like they look plastic because there's no longer life in their faces, right? Their faces don't move and they don't have expressions and things like this.
It's just shocking. Imagine driving on the freeway going 60 to 70 miles per hour when all of a sudden rocks are flying at you. That's exactly what happened early this morning on the 110. An apparent homeless man was chucking rocks and it caused a motorcyclist to fly off his bike. The shocking video shows the man picking up rocks and throwing them onto the freeway from the shoulder near 23rd Street. And this all happened around 3:30 this morning. Now, one of the rocks was pretty big, and it appears the motorcyclist hit it, causing him to crash and slide down the road. You can see that sparks flew, but amazingly, moments later, he got up and walked away. It appears
Not wearing a helmet.
at least 2 other cars got flat tires because of all the rocks on the road. One of those drivers actually just got into town from LAX and was in a rental car. But again, amazing, no one was seriously hurt, and no word about where that homeless man is or if any arrests have been made. Video.
Yeah, he's probably going to get away with it. Unless they can identify him from this picture. Almost look like Bigfoot out there. Another one of these things happened here.
Where that railroad bridge collapsed on top of the barge there, and as you mentioned, it happened around 10 o'clock this morning, the only bridge collecting Pelican Island to Galveston. So right now we haven't seen any vehicles cross other than the emergency vehicles that are assessing the bridge, and as you mentioned, also knocking out power to Pelican Island. Don't know if they restored that yet, but just look at all of this damage from the barge. Again, don't know exactly what happened and how it veered into that railroad. See where that...
Okay, so either these barges are getting hacked, or this has been happening a lot, and nobody paid attention, because it's just like with the train spills, that this is happening quite frequently. Like, neither one is good. If they're being hacked, well, that's a real concern, and that's an act of war, or whatever it is, and that's, that's its own nightmare. But if this is happening all the time and nobody really knows about it, because it's not being covered. And then one big event happens, like happened in East Palestine with that whole thing with the train. And then all of a sudden people start paying attention to this. And, you see how much it's happening, which means there's a complete breakdown. Our trains are filled with toxic waste, and they're constantly having train crashes and toxic waste is spilling, as well as barges are hitting bridges. And so either way, there's some sort of, plot here, or so there's some kind of nefarious thing going on, or, the other thing, right? Okay, a few more things here. Haley Bieber reveals painful new pregnancy symptom in her latest bump update. It's her lower back. She posted, I guess we can go to her Instagram here. Okay, so she's just posting model stuff. I couldn't find the post. Not important. Kathy Griffin shows off scarring and swelling from her vocal cord surgery. Well, that's kind of a blessing for the rest of us. If she can't talk anymore. Same thing there. Rapper Enchanting dead at 26, former label head Gucci Mane says, "We're all going to miss her." She died of a drug overdose. Darren Criss, unconventional name for newborn son raising eyebrows. The name here is Brother Laszlo Criss. He named his son Brother Laszlo Criss. He named his son Brother. So that's going to cause issues. So is his nickname going to be Bro? Giselle Buchanan and Joaquim Valente split over stress from Tom Brady roast. So her jiu-jitsu instructor couldn't handle the roast and broke up with that dude Giselle. Kate Middleton to make first public appearance since cancer reveal at Trooping Color. There are good days and bad days.
June 15th, Page 6 can confirm. The Princess of Wales just shared an update on her progress with a new photo and statement saying, "I've been blown away by all the kind messages of support and encouragement."
She's blown away.
Over the last couple of months. It really has made the world of difference to William and me and has helped us both through some of the harder times. I'm making good progress, but as anyone going through chemotherapy will know, there are good days and bad days. On those bad days, you feel weak, more months.
Okay, so let's move
as
forward
well as
here.
starting to do a little work from home. It was previously reported that Middleton may not return to her royal duties for the remainder of the year, but the princess admitted that she's taking it one day at a time.
Okay, just like Goofy. She's going to appear in one of those, things where they all dress up or whatever it is. Justin Timberlake arrested for DWI in Sag Harbor, New York, cited for running stop sign and swerving lanes. Dude is drunk and, doesn't care who knows it. So there's this movie called 57 Seconds, and I watched it last night. Very bad movie, not a good movie, like a 2-star movie. But what was interesting about it was it features this guy, Josh Hutcherson Josh from Future Man. Like his one saving grace is from the Hunger Games disaster. But he was in this great show called Future Man. But Morgan Freeman's barely in this movie. He plays a, sort of like a Steve Jobs type of guy for healthcare. And Josh Hutcherson plays a blogger that whose twin sister got into an accident and took this pain medication. And there's a pain medication company and an obnoxious, unrealistic billionaire who's being targeted because he put out this pain medication which was highly addictive and also killed people. People were dying from it. And his twin sister, died from it. So he had this, blog where he was going after big pharma. And Morgan Freeman plays this, alternative healer guy that's using technology to, do whatever it was. And he found these nano particles that helped him reverse time but only for 57 seconds. Josh Hutcherson saves his life by hitting the a potential murderer with a golf cart with like a food cart. It's kind of like goofy. And he finds a ring that turns back time for 57 seconds, which is the theme of the movie. But what happens is he ends up working for the pharmaceutical guy, right? The big pharmaceutical guy. And he saves that guy's life. And the guy that tries to kill him, this guy is like supposed to be big pharma, to do with the opioid crisis. And the guy that tried to kill him, his wife worked for him, and they set her up. And the end of the movie, they show, spoiler alert, they show video. He finds video that he exposes them for doing a fake suicide, right? Where, this is a movie from 2023, so fairly recent, last year. And they drag her corpse over to a noose and then hang her to make it look like she hung herself. And then they incriminate her for doing all the things that led to the big pharma, whatever it was, right? She was like the fall guy. But they Jeffrey Epstein her. And so there are these themes now attacking big pharma and then Jeffrey Epstein murders and things like this that are making it into these movies, even bad movies. Like there's a few other things in it. But, basically what you're seeing is these themes that are very prevalent, and I've talked about this in the past in the truth community, are making it into these mainstream movies. And they're using these plot lines, like they call it conspiracy theories, but they use these plot lines in movies and TV shows all the time. And so, if they're that crazy, then why are you putting them in movies? Okay, just a few more things here. Wells Fargo fires more than a dozen employees for faking work using mouse jigglers and keyboard simulation. So yeah, like that happened. And so here, snake swallows woman whole in Indonesia. The bonus, a 6-meter rectangular python, so I guess it's 18 feet. A 45-year-old woman. I don't have a picture of how small she is. But anyways, lots of stuff there, covering videos maybe once, twice a week here, just to keep it going, making no money. Making ridiculously amounts of low money here. But I'll continuously post a few videos of, once video or two a week, and some maybe shorter videos or whatever. But anyhow, there it is. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paramano, definitely reported for the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.